Hello, Grant and gang. Mr. McNichol here again. I have got another Chinese New Year story for you. Today I'm going to tell you a story that explains why at New Year in China people often wear red and they like to set off fireworks and make a lot of noise and have a big party. This is the story of Nian the Terrible. Once upon a time in China, there was a village. Now, this was just a village like any other village. But when the year came to an end and the new year began, instead of it being a happy time for people there, it was a terrible time. Because that was when the terrible monster, Nian the Terrible, came to the village. Now, some people say Nian lived under the waves of the sea, and some people say Nian lived in a cave in the mountains. But whatever, Nian was a terrible lion monster. He was like a lion with a great big shaggy lion mane and claws and paws and jaws, but had a great big horn coming from the centre of his head. Now, on New Year's Eve, every year, Nian would appear lumbering towards the village. Everyone would run screaming and hide. Nian would tear down houses, would scoop up cattle and sheep and munch them up. And if Nian found any children, the same would happen to them. So, it was a terrible time for the villagers. Well, one particular New Year, as the villagers were preparing to hide and board up their houses, to take what they could to save it from Nian the Terrible, an old beggar man happened to come to the village. He saw everyone rushing around. "What is happening? What is happening?" he asked. "Oh, run, run, friend. Run for your life. Nian the Terrible is coming," said people. The old beggar man, he came to a door in the village, and he knocked on the door. It was an old woman who answered. He said, "Do you have a bite to eat and a place for me to sleep?" "Oh, no, I don't," said the old woman, "for Nian the Terrible is coming. You must run away and hide like everyone else." "What?" said the old man. "If I stopped Nian the Terrible?" "What do you mean?" said the old woman. "No one can stop Nian the Terrible." "But what if I could?" said the old man. "What if I can save your house and the village? Would you have a bite to eat and a place to sleep for me?" "I would indeed," said the old woman. "Then I shall prepare," said the old man. So, as the rest of the village ran around, trying to get together all their possessions and find places to hide, drive their animals to safety, scoop up their children, the old man set about making some red paper lanterns. The old woman was very confused. Then he stitched and sewed a costume of red for himself. Then he gathered together bamboo canes, and he nodded and smiled, and then he made himself a drum. What on earth was he doing? It looked like he was getting ready for a party. The old woman could not understand. But the very stroke of midnight, as the new year was beginning, into the village came Nian the Terrible. He lumbered through the village. But there was something strange this time. Instead of everything being dark, where people had boarded up their windows so no light would show out, and where everyone had run off, the village was empty. He could see light dancing and glinting from one of the houses in the far east of the village. He prowled over to investigate. Then he stopped because he saw the house hanging all from the windows and from the top of the roof, red lanterns. Nian hated the colour red. He was terrified of it. He started to shudder, but the door opened, and the old man appeared, and he had with him a drum, and he started banging the drum. He was wearing red, and then he started to wave a burning torch, and he started to burn the lengths of bamboo cane. Now when they burned, they bang, bang, bang. like firecrackers, and he started to laugh at the top of his voice. Nian the Terrible froze. Nian the Terrible shook and shuddered. Nian the Terrible turned and ran, fled for his life, for he was terrified of the sound, of the red, of the light. Oh, everything, it was too much for him. And so it was that year the village was saved. Everyone came and rejoiced, and they copied what the old man had done. They hung red paper lanterns around their houses, they dressed in red, and they banged pots and pans and anything they could, and laughed and danced and sang. And so it was, every year in that village from then on. At the new year, instead of hiding scared, people would decorate their houses with red lanterns, wear red clothes, and have the biggest, loudest party they could, and set off fireworks and firecrackers, all to scare off Nian the Terrible. And so it was, Nian the Terrible never returned. And so it was that every year in China now, to remember how the old man saved the village from Nian the Terrible, people celebrate with red costumes, red paper lanterns, lots of noise, singing, dancing, and have a great party. And I hope you have a happy new year too. Bye for now, Granton Gang.